What if the year 1000 was supposed to be the end? Bells tremble over misty villages. Knees hit wet soil. Eyes search the sky for fire. A rumor outruns any horse. The 1000th year means judgment, and yet dawn breaks. Fields hold. The world, instead of dying, begins to hum. The year 1000 wasn't an off switch. It was a network booting up. We'll step inside that hum to see how many worlds lived at once. Distinct, intertwined, stubbornly human. And why the Dark Age myth collapses when you listen closely. If fear didn't end things, connection began. Begin in Latin Europe. Smoke and iron ride the wind. Hilltop fortresses prick the horizon, each a small universe of oaths and rents. A harvest climbs a ladder of hands to a lord, to a king. A bishop's blessing knots the chain. Rome is memory, but out of its ruins, new habits of order take root. In monasteries, candles breathe over vellum. Quills scratch Latin and Greek back to life. Bells measure hours. Heavy plows bite wet soil. Monks chart the sky like bookkeepers of eternity. Security is brittle. A hard winter, a raid, a boundary stone quarrel can flip a family's fate overnight. Survival is fragile. Ideas are gaining traction. And when ideas meet wealth on the move, cultural infrastructure is born. Cross heat-shimmered deserts to the Islamic world. Baghdad's golden blaze has softened, but its afterglow floods cities like Cairo, Nishapur, and Isfahan. Paper mills thrum, mechanical hearts for memory. Books travel with caravans. Under arcade shadows, jurists, astronomers, and physicians debate until lamps go cold. Knowledge becomes currency, and it circulates. Algebra tidies accounts. Lenses tease light apart. Hospitals file case notes like biographies of pain. Where knowledge is capital, cities become banks of ideas that project techniques far beyond their walls. Slide west to Al-Andalus. Cordoba's lamps lace streets with amber. Water gardens murmur behind carved doors. Lutes are tuned in moonlit courtyards. Yet palaces fracture into taifas, shards of power that glint and cut. Calligraphers crest letters. Architects carve stone into lace. Maps splinter even as craft refines. When glitter and fracture coexist, trade decides the future. Caravans and ships are already stitching these worlds together. Turn east and let dawn break in porcelain blue. The Song dynasty, 10th, 13th centuries, wakes to river barges slipping past granaries, tea steam ribboning into air, abacuses clicking like rain. Wealth rides on water. Canals feed cities glowing with kilns and ink. Shops sell inkstones beside needles, salt beside poetry. Paper money appears, a promise made visible. Exams bruise minds. Engineers fit paddle wheels to ships and bellows to furnaces. Market rules try to tame hunger's logic. Prosperity thickens, yet winter rides the steppe. Khitan and later Jurchen cavalry press the frontier with arrows and ice. The south pulls silver and rice. The north answers with hooves and frost. Ledges don't stop horses, roots redirect them. Across the sea, Japan exhales courtly poems in Heian palaces, while over the next centuries power tilts toward warriors on the road to Kamakura. Rice fields mirror the sky. In those reflections, clans find reasons to fight. A duel on a riverbank can redraw a province before noon. Zen arrives like a blade of quiet, discipline as shelter, breath as a metronome for courage. When honor becomes currency, victory charges interest in duty. Point the compass to the Sahel. Caravans uncoil behind salt-white camels. Leather waterskins creak to the rhythm of hooves. Towns like Gao and the Kingdom of Ghana weigh gold dust on tiny scales. Rumors of powers beyond Ghana's fields gather like thunder on the horizon. At night, griots fold lineages into song, words that are archive and oath. Drums speak across distances, guiding traders toward oases guardrailed by date palms and slabs of salt. Gold moves north and carries stories. Law moves south and carries measure. Numbers cross dunes alongside faith. Each mile can cost a life. Worth it, because value likes edges, and the desert is an edge that pays. Cross an ocean these caravans do not. In Mesoamerica, city-states count time in brilliant loops. Pyramids catch the sun and release it in shadow. Markets stack cacao, obsidian, cotton, and salt. Farmers terrace hillsides into green staircases. Ball courts echo with thumps that sound like verdicts. South in the Andes, roads cling to mountainsides. Llamas shuffle under loads of salt and spondylus shell. Fields are woven, not plowed, raised beds that turn frost into harvest. Priests read stars. Rulers read tribute. Families read the weather with their hands. Calendars differ. The wager is the same, human planning trying to outsmart the sky. Follow the routes that bind differences. On land, caravans stitch Asia with a patient needle. Sogdian traders barter glass for musk. Turkic guides sell news for safety. Caravans erase glow like islands every 30 miles. On water, the monsoon is a contract. Arab, Persian, and Indian pilots read winds like scripture, riding them from Aden to Calicut to Guangzhou. Hull's Creek holds breathe pepper and sandalwood. A ledger in one port makes sense of a rumor in another. The Silk Road isn't a road, it's a lattice, and its maritime half pulls hardest. What moves along these threads? Sahelian gold glitters in Mediterranean dinar dyes. Silk coils like tame lightning in Damascus stalls. Porcelain sails west wrapped in straw. Cloves hide in jars like captured storms. But the invisible cargo cuts deeper. Methods, scripts, ways to measure trust. Paper perfected in China flows outward. First a craft, then a system. In Samarkand and Baghdad, mills turn rags into memory. In chancelleries and bazaars, ink becomes infrastructure. When a thing becomes readable, it becomes governable, and not everyone welcomes the pen. Gunpowder begins quiet, a recipe whispered in alchemical notebooks. It starts as spectacle, festive fire fountains, then learns to bite. Fire arrows arc over river wars. Signal bombs thump night into alarm. Knowledge doesn't migrate in a single burst. It seeds in travelers' cuffs, in margins of books, in mercenary gossip. For now it dazzles. Its bite travels later, and borders feel thinner once the recipe circulates. Europe feels the tug. A century before crusading banners multiply, paths to Jerusalem thicken with pilgrims. Iberian frontiers harden. Italian ports watch Eastern ships and learn the grammar of risk, credit, convoy, contract. The cross will be sewn onto cloaks later. The fabric of exchange is being woven now, quietly, relentlessly. When faith moves bodies and profit moves fleets, currents meet and become policy. Slow the camera. If you sat at a table that stretched from Cordoba to Kaifeng, what would you taste, touch, believe? In Europe's fields, barley bread, onions, and ale feed most lives. Meat is winter lucky. Salt is a luxury. Famine is a memory that keeps coming back. Across the Mediterranean, spice warms stews in Baghdad. Citrus glows in Andalusian orchards. Sugar sweetens palaces and punishes teeth. In Song China, rice steams in porcelain bowls. Tea lifts the morning fog. Soy and fish sauce salt the empire from within. In the Sahel, millet and honey, goat and tamarind, menus shaped by trade winds as much as soil. In the Andes, maize, potato, and quinoa simmer in clay pots above the clouds. 5 menus, 1 hunger, stability. Coins tell other stories. A Byzantine solidus still glints in faraway hoards. Islamic dinars stamp God's word into gold. Song China prints promises on paper. In the Niger Bend, merchants weigh dust more precious than coin. Where metal is scarce, trust is currency. Where paper spreads, imagination becomes capital. Every economy is a bet on tomorrow, some backed by mints, some by mines. Faith threads through everything. A monk chants Latin in stone-cool chapels. A muezzin calls across rooftops in Arabic. A Buddhist lights a lamp in Hangzhou. A Shinto priest bows to a cedar. A Maya priest watches the sun align with carved stone. Each believes the world runs on balance. Each fears the moment it won't. And the gestures rhyme: prayer, trade, burial. Song, even across languages that cannot recognize each other's names. Life is short, often 30 to 40 years if luck holds. Shorter if plague, childbirth, or war knocks early. Yet births stretch toward millions. Cities swell. Kaifeng and other Song-era capitals rise into the hundreds of thousands. Cordoba rivals any city in Europe. Street sounds rhyme across the map. Hooves, hammers, laughter, debt. If medieval has long meant Europe's shadow, the year 1000 reminds us that bright lights often burned elsewhere, and that shadows shift with the angle of the lamp, return to humans, not maps. A peasant named Alis in Burgundy wakes before dawn, fingers raw from yesterday's threshing. She whispers a bargain with the sky. Let the rain hold until the sheaves are in. A scribe named Hassan in Cairo copies a medical text. His margin notes argue gently with the master he reveres. A clerk named Zhao in Kaifeng counts bolts of silk, then hides a private poem in the ledger's white space. A boy named Kenta in Japan tightens the cords on his father's armor. The knot he ties will decide whether a blade slides or holds. A trader named Fatu in the Sahel stares at the horizon line of dunes and measures it with her breath. They do not know each other, but they share the same gamble. Tomorrow can be built. Roots do more than carry objects. They edit people. Pilgrims return slightly different, carrying a saint's story, a spice's scent, a new way to measure distance. Merchants learn to price trust and discount anger. Sailors bring home words that change how mouths move. Raiders learn calendars because you cannot steal what you cannot locate in time. This editing writes itself into law codes and love songs, into recipes and riddles. The more the world connects, the more it remembers, and the more it risks, because connection has a dark seam. Prosperity invites envy. The rumor of wealth draws swords. Maps tighten into borders. Borders invite quarrels dressed as causes. As roads lengthen, raiders listen. As cities swell, hunger learns new streets. As ideas spread, authorities invent new fences. Solving one problem creates another. Paper extends the state and extends forgery. Gunpowder deters a siege and breeds a new kind of siege. Credit speeds trade and multiplies collapse when trust snaps. When distance dies, fear can't be the only glue. Answer it plainly. Repetition, reciprocity, and recognition. Repetition, seasonal loops that teach what works. Reciprocity, debts and favors that tug across rivers and deserts. Recognition, seeing your own reflection in a stranger's tool, tune, or taste. By the century's end, none of this belongs to one civilization. An idea born in a Chinese workshop can, within generations, alter warfare in Europe. A mathematical insight penned in Arabic can reshape an Atlantic voyage. Gold dust sifted by hands in West Africa can gild a chalice in Rome. No emperor planned this web. No oracle decreed it. It grew because scattered humans couldn't stop reaching out, so the mosaic resolves. Europe's monks guarded memory. The Islamic world expanded it. Song engineers mechanized it. Sahelian traders financed it. American polity spiritualized it. 5 paths, 1 instinct, to make time legible and turn landscape into legacy. Their technologies, gods, and governments differed, but they shared the same quiet rule. The world can be improved if you learn its rhythm. They failed often. They succeeded enough, and the leftovers of both, ruins and recipes, debts and diagrams, became our inheritance. Now the loop you were promised. Was the year 1000 an age of darkness? No. It was the edge of a dawn, a heartbeat slow and widening. It shows that progress never moves in one line, that connection predates the flags we love to wave, that humanity's baseline tools, trust, story, measure, are older than any nation you can name. It also warns that everything we praise in connection carries a shadow. If threads make webs, webs can also ensnare. If exchanges multiply, so do misunderstandings. The same roads that carry cures can carry conquest. The same scripts that preserve wisdom can preserve lies. But step into the closing street scenes and notice what doesn't change. A mother in Song, China tucks her child beside a clay stove. A shepherd in the Niger Bend tips his face to the stars that will walk him home. A mason in Burgundy sharpens his chisel in first light. A singer in a great city of the Valley of Mexico tests a melody against morning air. They negotiate with time using 3 quiet tools: work, memory, and hope. That is the real connection across oceans and empires. That is the constant that turns fear of an ending into the habit of a beginning. If the world was already global 1,000 years ago, what does that make us now? Final thread, or another pattern still being woven? Keep your map open. Keep your questions sharp. Travel not to escape the present, but to recognize it. And if you carry anything from the year 1000 into tonight, carry this. Civilizations don't rise or fall alone. They echo. Listen for the echoes.